channel. In today's video, I'm going to be talking about all of the books that I read in November. I read 16 books. Let me double check. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. I read 16 books. Most of them were audiobooks. Actually, you want to know what? I think all of them might have been audiobooks this time. So there's that. I am a huge listener of audiobooks because I have a lot of activities that I end up doing where listening to an audiobook is just like makes things better, right? So when I'm rocking my baby to sleep at night, I have my headphones on because sometimes it can take me at least an hour to put him to bed. And so that whole time I listen to an audiobook. When I come out in the evenings after my kids are in bed and I'm tidying up the house, I'm listening to an audiobook then. Sometimes at work, I work at my local library part-time, and lots of times I'm able, if there's nobody in the library and I'm like reshelving books or something like that, I'm able to listen to an audiobook there. It's just, I have a lot of time where I'm able to listen to audiobooks and not that much time where I'm able to physically read. So that's why I usually end up listening to a lot of audiobooks. But anyways, you guys don't care about that. Let's just go ahead and get right on into my wrap up. So we ended October off where I had just finished listening to Truly Devious by Maureen Johnson, and I did end up finishing that series. It is an ongoing series, but I have now read all of the books in that series so far. She is working on more, so I read The Vanishing Stair, which I gave 4 stars. I read The Hand on the Wall, which I gave 4 stars, and I read The Box in the Woods, which I gave 4 stars. And I had also given Truly Devious 4 stars. So I've given each one of those books a 4-star rating so far, and I have really, really enjoyed them. So basically, this book follows Stevie, who is our main character, and she is a part of this school that is kind of like for the gifted and for the really intelligent. And the way to get into this school is basically you write them and they're looking for a certain something. You don't really know what it is that they're looking for. But so all of this cast of characters comes together at this really cool school. It's like out in the middle of nowhere. It's out in the middle of the mountains. And they take a really unique approach to learning in this school. And it's kind of student-led. So the student is kind of leading their own, I guess, in a way. They're kind of leading their own education, which is really cool. Oh, my battery's about to die, you guys. I'll be back. Okay, sorry about that. I am back. Also, I want to give a quick disclaimer that my family is downstairs. If you can hear them, I apologize. There's a huge snowblower outside. If you can hear that, I apologize. We had a big winter storm. I live in Canada, so of course I had a huge winter storm last night and the day before, so of course there's snowblowers snow blowing at all hours of the day. Anyways, back to the books. So basically in each one of these books, we follow Stevie, and the reason that she is at this school is because she is kind of a detective. So she has a brilliant mind and she is able to kind of figure out mysteries, and especially unsolved mysteries, and with a way that detectives don't seem to be able to figure them out. So she is really adept at figuring out cold cases, and she is in every single book, she's kind of solving a new mystery, and her friends are there to help her, and she's just got this cast of characters, and it's really fun. I love the atmosphere of it. I love the atmosphere of the school. In one of the books, they end up getting snowed in, and it's just, I really like the atmosphere of these books, and they're written in such a way that I can't figure out the mystery, which is really cool. A lot of times I'm able to figure out mysteries, so I really like it when there is one that I'm not able to figure out. And Maureen Johnson does a really good job of that. So I've really been liking this series. So that was the last 3 books in the series that I finished, and we're waiting for the next one to come out. So those each got a 4 out of 5. And then I also ended up finishing Cassandra Clare's series, The Mortal Instruments. So I've been reading those over the last few months. I've been listening to them. I have them on hard copy, but I have been listening to them on audiobook, and they have been basically 3s almost throughout the board. But after the first couple of books, I was hoping that they were gonna pick up a little bit, and then I was gonna like them more. And then once I got through so many of them, I was like, well, I might as well just finish the series now. So this is a series that I wouldn't necessarily recommend. I didn't love them, but I didn't hate them either. They were pretty much 3s across the board. There was the odd one, I think, that got maybe a 4. I really didn't care for the main character, Clary, which is something that I need when I'm reading. A lot of people maybe don't need that, but I need to be able to connect with the main character and kind of sympathize with her and be able to get into her head. I just found her to be extremely annoying and really immature, which, I mean, that being said, this is a young adult series. So this is a young adult series about shadow hunters, which are basically demon slayers. And we get into this whole world as Clary kind of like finds herself just like plopped into this world of shadow hunters. She realizes that she is one, and we're kind of following along with her as she is introduced to these topics and realizing that like vampires and demons and all these things are real, and we're kind of following along this journey with her. She is, I think, 17 or 16, and there's definitely 16 and 17-year-olds that are more mature than her for sure. I often don't feel like characters are really immature when I'm reading YA. I read a lot of YA. I really like YA. And I usually don't have this problem with the characters, but I definitely did with her, and I struggled with it throughout the series. So if you're a person that really needs to relate to a character and be able to kind of sympathize with some of their decisions, this might not be for you. But if you're a person who can kind of get past that and just enjoy the story anyway, then, you know, you probably will have a better experience than I did. And I kind of towards the end had to like tell myself that that's what I needed to do. And, you know, other than that, like the story was interesting. It was a cool concept. It was a cool idea. But I gave, let me see here. I gave, where am I? City of Lost Souls a 3 out of 5, and City of Heavenly Fire a 4 out of 5, and that is the last one in the series. So there is some other like spin-off series of that one, and I do have 3 books that is in one of the spin-off series, so I'm unsure whether or not I'm going to carry on with it. I think I am. I don't know why. Don't ask me why. But the next book that we're going to talk about is The Turn of the Key by Ruth Ware. So in The Turn of the Key by Ruth Ware, we are following along with Rowan, who is our protagonist. And the book starts off quite jarringly, and it gets you like hooked right off the bat, because it starts off with this woman writing to a lawyer in order to try and get some help from him. And she is basically waiting trial for murder of a child, and she is a nanny. So basically she is writing to this lawyer being like, please help me, this is why I am innocent of this. And we go on from there to hear her story of what all happened in this house. She ends up taking this posting of this really odd house. Like it's kind of set apart from nowhere, and it's a smart house. So everything in the entire house is smart. And there's constant surveillance, and the parents are architects, and they are away a lot of the time, so they need a live-in nanny for their children. But this house is supposedly haunted. This house has scared off several nannies beforehand, and Rowan ends up getting this nannying job, and weird things start to happen. First of all, she's having a hard time connecting with the children. They are very wary because of all the nannies that have been coming and going throughout their life. And she's having a hard time connecting with them, or they're having a hard time connecting with her, rather. And then weird things start to happen within this house. So there we have the technology aspect of it, which she doesn't quite understand. She's having a hard time learning all of that. And then strange things are starting to happen. She's wondering if the two are connected, like if she's thinking it's got to be the smart house that's, you know, kind of doing these weird things. But she starts to kind of see what has happened and why the other nannies might be leaving, picking up and leaving. And obviously in the end, as we find out right in the beginning in the first chapter, this story does end with one of the children unfortunately dying, and she is being held responsible for this. But she claims that she is innocent, and we kind of go through and we see what happened, and we start to see that maybe Rowan isn't who we thought she was, especially in the beginning. And that she has definitely a lot of secrets that she's trying to hide, and you're kind of wondering if she did this or if she didn't, or what happened, or who did this. Was it a ghost? Like, what had happened? So this is definitely a really good thriller. I really enjoyed it, and I gave it a 5 out of 5. So the next book that I read is another really popular thriller, and that is Gone Girl by Gillian Flynn. So this one is been popular for forever. I've only just now gotten around to reading it. If you don't know what it is about, it's the synopsis for this book says, "Who are you? What have we done to each other?" These are the questions Nick Dunn finds himself asking on the morning of his 5th wedding anniversary when his wife Amy suddenly disappears. The police suspect Nick. Amy's friends reveal that she was afraid of him, that she kept secrets from him. He swears it isn't true. A police examination of his computer shows strange searches. He says they weren't made by him. And then there are the persistent calls on his mobile phone. So what did happen to Nick's beautiful wife? So I ended up giving this one a 4 out of 5. I really enjoyed it. It's a dual perspective, and it definitely has a really good twist. The only reason why I didn't give it a 5 out of 5 is because I felt that it kind of dragged on at the end. Like the final twist was made and it was like shocking and it was really good, but then the story kept going on after that. And it was almost like a little bit too much. I feel like it could have just like kind of came to a close after that big reveal and it would have been a lot better, but it just kind of like dragged and dragged. So I did really enjoy it. I was surprised by the twist as to where this woman had gone, as to who was responsible for her disappearance. And it's definitely a study in character for sure, because you definitely, at first, you're kind of wondering about these characters, and then we see different sides to them that kind of prove that everything is not as it seems. So the next book that I read is a fantasy by Emily J. Taylor called Hotel Magnifique, and I really enjoyed this one. I gave it a 4 out of 5. So this is basically a story about a traveling hotel slash magical circus almost. It's basically like a magical circus that is inside of a traveling hotel. So every single night, this entire building, this hotel, magically disappears and moves into a different spot around the world. And we're following Janny, who is our main character, and she is struggling to survive, trying to take care of her younger sister Zosa after her parents have died, unfortunately. And so they've been living this life of poverty. She's trying her hardest. She's working in a tannery. She's just trying her best to take care of her sister, when they end up getting invited to this circus, this traveling circus slash hotel. Her sister ends up getting a job there, and Janny does not, but she ends up kind of persuading the people that have given her sister this job to allow her to come as well. Once she gets into this hotel, she is very excited at first because they're going to be making more money, and her sister gets to sing for a living, which is her dream, and that's kind of what her job is, that she gets hired on for, is to entertain the public. And she's just really excited for her sister. She's going to be a maid. She's fine with that. She's excited for her sister. But once she gets there, she gets separated from her sister and she's unable to find her. And through trying to find her sister, she starts to realize that there is something amiss about this traveling circus slash hotel, and that it definitely has darker, sinister vibes that she wasn't expecting. So she finds that these contracts that they have signed in order to be employed are unbreakable. They are forever. And she's trying to get out of this basically because she starts to find out that there's some, like I said, some sinister things going on here, and she's trying to find her sister and get out of this hotel and break these contracts. She meets some people along the way that help her, some don't. And of course there's like magic weave throughout the entire story because it is a magical hotel. So there's all sorts of like cool different things going on, especially with the performances. It reminds me a little bit of Caraval, of the story of that, like kind of a traveling circus sort of thing, or even the night circus. So it definitely has gives me those type of vibes. I really enjoyed it. I gave it a 4. Next is by Carrie Maniscalco, and that is the second book in the Stalking the Jack the Ripper series, and that is Hunting Prince Dracula. I gave this one a 4 out of 5. Now this one was one that I actually did physically read, and I'm not sure if, I think maybe it took me a little bit too long to read it, and that's why I ended up giving it a 4. Like I said, I have a hard time carving out time to physically read sometimes, and so this book took me quite a while to actually get through, and I think because of that, it started to feel like it was dragging on to me a bit, whereas if I had had more time to read, it might not have felt that way. Does that make sense? Nonetheless, I really did enjoy it. So in our last book, in Stalking Jack the Ripper, we have our two main characters who come together to find out who Jack the Ripper is and stop him. Now we are taken into a different story with the same characters, but they are now kind of in the midst of these murders where people are thinking that Dracula, the vampire, has come back to life. So they are staying in Dracula's castle, and there's strange things about the castle, of course. People start turning up dead and they are completely void of blood. So of course people around town are thinking that it's Dracula come back. and our main characters are trying to find out who actually is doing these murders. And I really love the way that Carrie Maniscalco writes. Like, she just has such a way of writing with an ambiance I really enjoy. Sometimes she has a hard time sticking, like these are obviously in the 1800s, these stories are supposed to be, and sometimes she has a hard time sticking within like the verbiage of those times. And so sometimes it can feel like you're not actually in the 1800s because of the way the characters are talking to each other, and even the thoughts that our main character is having just doesn't seem like what they would be thinking or saying to each other in the 1800s. But that being said, she does a good job of weaving the atmosphere, like the creepy Dracula castle, throughout the book. You definitely get those vibes, and I really enjoy that. Okay, so the next book that I read is called Small Favors by Erin A. Craig, and I gave this one a 5 out of 5. So this is one of those stories. I love historical horror or historical thriller. I love that. And this is definitely one of those. So this is set, I think probably 1800s, maybe even more than that, maybe even 1700s. But it's it says, Ellery Downing lives in a quiet town of Amity Falls in Blackspire Mountain Range. 5 narrow peaks stretching into the sky like a grasping hand, bordered by a nearly impenetrable forest from which the early townsfolk fought off devils in the woods. To this day, visitors are few and rare, but when a supply party goes missing, some worry that the monsters that once stalked the region have returned. As fall turns to winter, more strange activities plague the town. They point to a tribe of devilish and mystical creatures who promise to fulfill the residents' deepest desires, however grand and impossible for just a small favor. But their true intentions are much more sinister, and Ellery finds herself in a race against time before all of Amity Falls, her family, and the boy she loves goes up in flames. So honestly, the synopsis doesn't even really give you the excitingness of this book. I enjoyed it so much, and I really enjoyed the vibes of it. So basically, yeah, like there's strange things that start to happen in this small town. And of course, you know, back in those days, talks of devils and witches and all that kind of thing, it quickly escalates, right? And these are times when religion plays a really, really important role in society. And whenever things like this happen, then it's kind of pointed to being like devils, right? So strange things are happening. These people are suffering throughout this winter. Basically, some of the strange things have been like crops going up in flames and stuff like that. And so it's really pushing these people to the brink. And a lot of them are dying throughout the winter. They're having a hard time surviving. And strange things keep happening. So our main character kind of figures out what is happening and is working to kind of stop this, but she's also battling people in the town that are working against her and don't believe in what she's saying. So really, really enjoyed it. There's creepy vibes. There's like secluded village in old-timey times. If any of that sounds interesting to you, I think you'll really like this one. I gave it a 5 out of 5. I really enjoyed it. Okay, the next book that we're going to talk about is one that I'm actually a little bit sad about because I really did not enjoy it as much as I thought that I was going to. And that is the 4th installment from Dorinda Jones called Moonlight and Magic, and it is the 4th installment of the Betwixt and Between series. So if you guys have watched my video about the best cozy mystery series that I have ever read, Betwixt and Between is definitely one of those. And I refer to it as being kind of like a Sabrina the Teenage Witch for grown-ups. So basically in the first 3 books, we follow our main character as she kind of comes to realize that she is a witch. She's in her 40s and she realizes that she is a witch. She is left behind a huge house from her biological grandmother that she never met. And as she moves into this house, she realizes a bunch of secrets. She's a witch. She has to struggle to learn these powers and how to use them to help people. And we just kind of like follow her along through that. She's solving crimes with her newfound powers. It's really fun. Some steamy romance scenes in there, and I really, really enjoyed them. Now, I've been waiting on the 4th installment for a while, where it kind of takes a turn and it starts to follow her best friend. So her best friend is, you know, throughout the books, she is there. Okay, my baby woke up. I don't even know how to talk anymore. As I was laying with him trying to get him back to bed, I had something in my eye, so then like my makeup was all running. Anyways, I'm a mess. I digress. The 4th book was nothing like the first ones. And I was so sad. And you know, okay, the thing was, I pre-ordered this book well over a year ago, okay? And the release date kept getting pushed and pushed and pushed. And I didn't know why. And I started to kind of feel like, are they maybe rushing her to make this book or what? And honestly, that's kind of how it felt to me. To follow Defiance's best friend, Annette. And because strange magical things are happening to her as well, okay? And Defiance kind of has her magic sort of sorted out by the 3rd book, and now we're starting to follow Annette's kind of journey, okay? It is nothing like the first 3 books. It's just the way that it's written, it seemed really rushed, and it seemed like it wasn't ready to be put out, which is why they kept maybe pushing the dates back. I don't know, but honestly, I disliked it so much. Like, I ended up giving it a 3, but I honestly don't even think I'm going to carry on with the series at this point, which is really strange that it can go from being like my favorite. Like, I was pushing this recommendation for you guys, and the first 3 books I definitely recommend, okay? And the first 3 books wrap up enough that you don't need to carry on with the 4th book, because the 4th book kind of starts anew with Defiance's best friend, okay? So you can read the first 3 books. They're awesome, really enjoyed them, but this is just a whole nother, it almost seems like a whole nother series. And I don't know if I didn't like the main character, or I didn't like the story, or I didn't like how it was conveyed. I don't know. There was just something about it. It was not nearly as good as the first 3 books. So that one got a 3, and I don't think I'm going to carry on with the series. So the next 2 books that I read are a series by E.J. Cooperman, and this was another cozy mystery series. The first one is called Written Off. The second one is called Edited Out. And the series is Mysterious Detective. And I think that this was supposed to end up being an actual series, but it only ended up being the 2 books, and that was it. And it did kind of leave off of, like, there could have been going into another book, but it never came. And I think the second one was written in like 2014 or something like that. So I don't think we're going to get a 3rd book. But the first one I really enjoyed. The first one I gave a 5 out of 5. The second one went down to a 3. So I think the first book, if you just read it as a standalone, you would really enjoy. And I don't think you need to carry on with the second book, and it kind of stops there anyways. But basically it is about our main character, who is a writer, and she writes mystery stories. And she has a detective who is the main character in all of her stories. Okay, and the detective's name is Duffy Madison. Now, she's, like I said, she's an author. This is her thing. She writes these mystery books, and one day she gets a phone call from someone claiming to be Duffy Madison, needing her help with a mystery being solved. And she, of course, thinks that this person is insane and thinks it's maybe just like a crazed fan or what have you. But we come to find out that no, this is a detective who, it's almost as if she literally dreamt him into existence, because he has no recollection other than the past 4 years, which is when she first started writing the Duffy Madison series. He doesn't remember his life at all before that, and he is exactly like her character in the book. And so we are kind of following along with her as she is getting to know this person who at first she thinks is insane, and then she kind of starts to, you know, agree with him that maybe like something weird is going on here, and she doesn't know if it's maybe he just has a weird case of amnesia and has kind of like written himself into these books, or if it really is some sort of magical thing going on where she has brought this character to life. And of course there's a mystery, a murder mystery in with that, and it's just really wrapped up into kind of a cool premise for a book. I really enjoyed the first one, 5 out of 5. The second one kind of piggybacks off of the same thing. She and Duffy Madison end up kind of solving a different mystery, but it just wasn't, I don't know if it wasn't executed as well, or if it just maybe was the story wasn't quite as good, or what it was, but it went down to a 3 for me. So there's that. And then now the last 3 books that I read are another cozy mystery series. I've been really into the cozy mysteries lately, as you can tell. And I ended up picking up this box set of 10 complete books by Tess Lake, and it is called the Torrent Witches Cozy Mysteries set. And this was on sale on audiobook on Audible for 1 credit for 10 bucks. So I've been reading that, and I've gotten the first 3 books done. I'm on the 4th book right now. And it basically follows the Torrent Witches, which are a family of witches We've not quite yet scratched the surface. There is a witch in the basement that's frozen in time. That is their grandmother, and we've not quite really delved into that sort of situation, what happened with that or what's going to happen with that. I imagine in an upcoming book something's going to happen with that. But basically our main character, whose name is Harlow, she is a writer, and she is trying to write a news blog about her town called Harlot Bay. And so she kind of like writes a news blog about the town, and she kind of solves some mysteries as well. So she's a witch on the one hand, she's a struggling writer, she's trying to like go through life, she's meeting, she just met a new boyfriend, and so we're kind of seeing her deal with like family dynamics, being a witch, trying to, you know, struggle to get this business idea off the ground, and then also she's like solving mysteries and murders as she goes. So far it's been kind of just like a run-of-the-mill cozy mystery. I haven't loved it, but I haven't disliked it either. Each book is sitting at around a 3 for me right now, but I am interested to keep going. Like, it's not bad enough where I'm like, I don't want to even keep going with it anymore. It's still interesting. It's still giving me the cozy mystery vibes, which I really like in the winter time. So far all 3 of those are getting a 3, and we're going to carry on with the series and see if it picks up at all from there. So those are all of the books that I ended up reading in November. A lot of series, a lot of finishing series, and yeah, I've really been into series lately, and I've been really picking up into the cozy mysteries. So that's definitely one thing that I really like in the winter time. Anyways, I hope you guys are having a wonderful day. Thank you for hanging out with me here today on this first day, second day, whatever, of happy holidays. Let me know in the comments down below if you read any of the books that I read this month and what your thoughts on them were, and let me know what you want me to read next month as well in the comments down below. Go ahead, share, like the video. That all really helps my channel. Comment. I really appreciate it when you guys do that. It does help my videos get found. The more engagement I get on videos helps me obviously to get found in the algorithm. So yeah, that'd be really helpful. Anyways, I hope you're having an awesome day, and I will see you in my next video. Bye!